Hey guys, Eric from Alpha Advisors here with another video today about GMAT GRE waivers. Okay, if you know anything about MBA applications, then you know standardized test scores are required as part of your application, namely the GMAT, GRE, and then if you're an international student, IELTS or TOEFL, right? Today, I'm focusing more about the GRE and the GMAT waiver. What is it about? Should you consider it or not? And would it put you at a disadvantage in your application consideration? So, like and subscribe to the channel. We put out the content about MBA application and post MBA content on a daily basis. And we're here to help you win your admission to top MBA school or your dream school and get you into that dream job post MBA. All right. So, first of all, what is GMAT or GRE waiver? First, understand what GMAT and GRE is. It's a standardized test that you need to take or applicant must take in order for them to, as part of the application process, essentially to test your IQ in a sense, right? But no, there's a strong correlation that the GMAT and GRE has been known to have with the success that you'll have academically as well as post MBA. And so they use a GMAT or I would just say the GMAT GRE to measure essentially another factor to measure an applicant and the consideration process. Now, the GMAT GRE has been the standard as long as really anyone can remember, probably. But because of the global pandemic that happened in 2020 or became rampant in 2020, business schools began to offer two things. One is waiving the application fee for business schools. And the second is to provide a waiver option of the GMAT GRE. Because at the time, students, because of the pandemic and quarantine and every building was shut down, it seems like, students had difficulty in taking the GMAT or the GRE. And so in order for the school to adjust with the times, so to say, they began providing waivers for applicants as an option. So that's basically the history of the waiver that came about. Perhaps as a business school or two may have had it back in the day as well, but no top schools had any GMAT or GRE waivers or anything like that. So it's actually quite a huge existential moment back in 2020 when the pandemic happened and schools opted to provide students with an option to waiver GMAT. So I'll go ahead and take you through the list of what kind of schools offer the GMAT waiver. So I'm going to show you a fairly old list, and this is a January 10th, 2021 list, and I'll show you another one as well. But I'm showing you this list for one reason. One is that, yes, of course, it's an older list, 2021, so it may not even apply for 2022 or 2023 or 24. So why am I showing you this? Well, it's to show you that these schools have once had a waiver option available to students. Now, many of these schools have opted to implement the waiver policy on a permanent basis, whereas some schools, it may be only temporary. It makes sense, right? Because some of these waivers are predicated on your impact of COVID-19. So, and I should preface this by saying that the details of the GMAT and GRE waiver may have changed as well. However, as you do your research with your target schools and you consider your options, it may be in your best interest to even ask the recruiter, hey, it may be something else other than COVID-19, but you could always approach the admissions committee and seek for ways to waive the GMAT or GRE if you're interested in going through that route. And because the schools have done that at least once in the past, they're likely able to, and they know how to consider candidates based on the waiver status. That's important as well, as I will get through how schools consider applicants with the GMAT waiver. It's very important that a school has had a past experience, because it is a not the biggest deal breaker or a process change in the process as they consider an applicant, but because they've had that experience in the past, it would be easier or more likely to get that kind of consideration or your request granted. So I say that for that reason only, and that's really up to your negotiation skills with the school as well. But having said that, these are some of the schools that has done the GMAT waivers in the past. So top schools, things like MIT Sloan, Virginia Darden, Cornell Johnson, Michigan Ross, Tepper, Kenan Flagler, McCombs, Foster, and then going down a little bit more to the list, right? Going into Vanderbilt, Owen, BYU Marriott, Carlson, Smeal, Simon, and so on and so forth. So these schools are very good schools. All of them, probably I'd say like the top up to top 30 schools are very good schools, and you see the list of schools that are doing that. And I should say that this list is not complete. Schools have started to implement GMAT waiver policies regardless of COVID status. So, for example, you see North Carolina, Kenan Flagler, right, requires 3.2 GPA in STEM business, economics, or analytics, or advanced or terminal degree, or 5+ years of work experience in a quant or analytical field. Okay, CPA, CFA, EA, LSAT, PCAT, or MCAT, right? Whereas another school could be, may say, I think similar schools, school that I went to, Simon, right, requires undergrad GPA of 3.2 and 5+ years of work experience. Now, they say that CFA or CPA or graduate degree, but that was not the case for me. And so again, you want to talk to your school admission recruiters, okay? They will take you through their requirements of a waiver and talk to you about whether or not you could potentially be eligible for a waiver. So here's another article that we have here. This is a little bit newer, in November 10th. I'll put the links in the description below. But here's some top schools without GMAT still. Okay, it's Michigan Ross, Georgetown, Texas McCombs, Kellogg, EMBA, NYU Stern, and so on and so forth. So I'll put some of these lists of the school list in the description below for you to check out. Okay. All right. Now back to the slide deck. So why would you consider the GMAT or GRE waiver? Well, it could be for a variety of reasons. Not everybody has the same circumstance or situation. You may be a family man or woman who is caring for a family and working at the same time, and you just simply don't have the extra time to study for a GMAT or GRE. Perhaps you have had extenuating health circumstances or financial circumstance that has prohibited you from taking the GMAT or GRE. And perhaps you're not a test taker, right? Not a lot of people are. So GMAT GRE has been this single biggest wall that's been in your way to get into business school. That might be it, right? You just can't handle that kind of pressure, perhaps, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing to say. GMAT GRE is an incredibly anxious test to take. So if you're in that kind of bucket, right, if you're having a difficulty taking the GMAT GRE, you may want to consider waiving the GMAT if your target school has an option to do so. Now, what schools offer it? We went through that list. Go ahead and check it out. Link in the description below. Okay. Now, would the waiver put you at a disadvantage? A lot of people say yes. A lot of people say no. I'll tell you this much. Working in the admissions as part of the I used to be when I was getting my MBA, I worked for the admissions committee as a student ambassador, and I spoke with some of the admissions people there, and the GMAT, and since then I've spoken with people from other business schools in the admissions committee. The GMAT GR waiver, it does not necessarily hurt you. Okay. It's basically a component. It's just the admissions committee review applications at a holistic view. The GMAT GRE is just not in that as part of a component to evaluate a student against. And so it's really more competitive in a sense because you have less components to measure yourself up against your competition. Whereas maybe the GMAT or GRE could have given you the competitive edge, right? Now, if that's the case, then you want to take the GMAT and submit your GMAT scores. But if you feel you're not confident, like maybe you're below average of the GMAT scores, you may want to consider waiving it because that will put you at a disadvantage if you have a lower GMAT score or GRE score. And so when you think about it that way, it's really up to you in terms of what you want to do. Another consideration for you to have, and this is not necessarily the MBA application, but it's for MBA career, is that what industry or what work do you want to get into, or what company you want to get into even specifically. If you're going into consulting, this could be an issue. Okay, it could put you in a disadvantage. Why? Because American companies, a lot of large big four consulting or a lot of large consulting companies, they want to see your GMAT score. Sometimes they ask for it. I've heard as of late that they're not asking for it, but I know some do. And so when you think about that, and if a company asks you about your GMAT score, and you all you gotta say is you don't have one, they may make you take one, or they may ask you why don't you have one, and that's the kind of question you might need to be prepared to answer. So now, in conclusion, right, would it put you at a disadvantage? The answer is it depends, but when you ask yourself the earlier questions, right? Why would you consider it? What schools offer it? And add a question of what career do you want to have post MBA? Then I think you can start to see whether or not you should apply for a GMAT or GRE waiver. If you want to know more about it in terms of the whole process and how you go about doing it, and get a better understanding of whether or not you should do it or not, come chat with us. Okay, we offer a career counseling session for those that come by, and we offer guidance to those from those that walk the walk that you're trying to walk in. And so come chat with us. We are here helping our clients win their MBA admission and their post MBA career job. So finally, I just want to, before I end, I do want to come back really quick and say, so these are some MBAs in USA without the GMAT. And then there's some other in Canada, right? This list right here has Canada, MBA in Canada without the GMAT. Okay, we have here Australia as well. So it's a pretty nice list here. So again, it's so important to know which schools have had the experience of waiving GMATs in the past, even if they may not do it right now, because you can still, it's all about negotiation. You can definitely still seek to get a waiver of GMAT or GRE if you choose to do so. All right, guys, thank you so much. This was Eric from Alpha Advisors, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.